Welcome, everybody, to the F4 Hunger Awareness Show.
It's my goal to feed 1 billion people before I die.
We want to bring awareness around the issue of hunger and food insecurity.
7 to 8 million people served so far. With the sole goal of eradicating world hunger by connecting sources of food to recipients in need. Fiorenza's Food for Friends.
But before we get there, maybe Michelle and Amanda, I know I'd be curious to learn a little bit about your respective journeys. How did you go down the law path? Where did you go to school? Your passions. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Amanda.
My name is Amanda Bartley, and I grew up north in Vermont. I went to the University of Vermont, and then I went to law school at the University of New Hampshire. I had actually interned with Senator Jim Jeffords, and that's how I got interested in law. So I pursued that. Then I went to law school. I was actually in the Miss USA pageant with President Trump years ago for Miss Vermont USA. And for that, I always cared about giving back to others. The organization really encouraged that. And then down the road, I ended up moving to Florida and falling in love with one of my colleagues, Brian Bartley. And we are both partners inside and outside of work. We have 3 children, Ava, Connor, and Nico, and we had actually lost a child, which is what really made us passionate about giving back to others to give in his memory and carry his name on. So his name was Trevor.
Wow. Well, did not know that. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. I will keep him in my prayers, Trevor. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I noticed you went to University of New Hampshire.
Yes.
So they have, I think that I researched this a little bit. They have an online JD program that's accredited, and I think they do intellectual patents. Is that right?
Yes, it was the #1 IP school in the country when I attended, and it's still top notch for that. So,
Yeah. And the weather is incredible up there.
oh yes, that's why I moved to Florida.
Yeah. We when my buddy and I went on a trip up there, there was a nice hiking trail called Diana Falls. I don't know if you're familiar too much with the area, but we loved it. We went up in the fall and it was incredible.
Yes, it's so beautiful there.
Oh, that's so cool. So then you came to Chartwell, it looks like in May.
I came here almost 10 years ago on the dot. So Brian and I both joined Chartwell Law together 10 years ago, and we focus on workers' compensation insurance defense. And I also delved into first-party property defense as well.
And what drew you to wanting to pursue law? What was the passion or desire to do law?
Just generally in high school, I was in a moot court competition, and that started me down the path. And then when I did the internship with Senator Jeffords, that kind of just
Put you over the top.
satisfied my dreams for me.
Cool. And then for those that might not know, we'll talk about the firm briefly, but what does that mean that you're doing workers' comp as a defense attorney?
That means we represent the employers and the insurance companies for any claims brought by allegedly injured employees.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Amanda. Isabella, if you want to introduce Michelle.
So, Michelle, you are general counsel for Chartwell, right?
Correct.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into law?
Absolutely. So I am born and bred in the New York area. I live now in New Jersey. I've been here for several years. I decided to pursue law, I'd say probably around high school. I was one of several people that we were starting college applications and we needed our letters of recommendation from our teachers, and our teachers were on strike. And as part of the strike, they weren't writing those letters. So well before cell phones and social media, we had the whole, telephone calling people and saying tomorrow at 8 a.m. or at 8:30 when the bell rings, all the seniors are going to leave and we're going to protest. And it was really exciting, and we did. The bell went off, and I think probably everybody left because why not get up from school if you can? And I just enjoyed that leadership and, fighting for rights type of scenario. And I had some great internships while I was in college and law school. And I really just was passionate about helping others. Um, my journey led me to a clerkship after law school with a judge. And then I started in a small private practice and then went to another practice for about 20 years. And then for the last year and a half, I've been general counsel at Chartwell. And I wasn't a beauty queen like Amanda. But I did have, excitement in my life that wound up with community interest and, the cheerleading squad. We would do benefits and things like that. And fortunately, I was able to enlighten my children especially about the need to give back, and I'm so happy that my youngest son really took it to heart, especially during the COVID, even before COVID. We made it a business to not a business, we made it a deal together that we would work with a local organization, and every Sunday for about 2 years we cooked meals for families in need in our community. And my son continued doing that. We ran food drives and things like that. And my son was lucky to be nominated for and then receive the Presidential Volunteer Award a couple of years back and he got it right when he was graduating high school. So really something that stuck with him and makes me super, super proud.
You should be. So he was in high school doing this with you?
Yep. It started probably when he was around 12 years old.
Wow.
We used to do these, turkey bowls, Thanksgiving morning. My husband and the kids and all of their friends would go out and, play flag football. And one year, I'm like, you know what? Everybody that's going to participate, bring a bag of non-perishables because we do have an organization in town. So we started doing that. And then, super fun fact, my son, the same one that volunteers, he was actually on the Food Network's Chopped, the TV show, the competition. And so when we were hosting everybody over to watch it, which nobody knew what the result was, we did the same kind of thing. We had everybody bring non-perishable and stuff like that. And so um, he started around that time, and then, it led into COVID, and that's when we really just started the cooking. And it was just a really fun opportunity for us. Of course, led me to a lot of dishwashing and,
Yep.
grocery shopping and being the sous chef, but it was really meaningful.
What's really neat is you both are so incredibly successful professionally, but within your families, I know you're doing it honoring Trevor, Amanda, and then Michelle, you with your son during COVID and even before, you have your families involved in spending time to give back in some capacity, even though you're so busy. Like people always say, I'm so busy, I can't get to that, but you have made it a priority.
Yeah,
Best friend that I always say, you make time for what's important. You've
right.
made it a priority in your respective families to help your community.
Yeah.
Makes
I
me
mean,
feel really good to give back to others and for us to see our children seeing the
yeah.
importance of that so we can make the world a better place. And Michelle's such a beautiful person inside and out, and she's taught that to her children, and it's great to see.
Yeah. And I can certainly say the same for Amanda because I see her LinkedIn posts all the time and we talk about it, how she gives a lot back, her and her family. And it really is, like she said, it's just I know you're not supposed to do things to expect to receive things, but it's the feeling that you get, and it's the ability to say, I am so busy at work, but this is so important.
Mhm.
And that's what's so fulfilling about it.
Yeah, Isabella, that's almost a good segue. Before we use that as a launching pad, we talked about this, you and I, about the fulfillment that you get from helping others. Maybe
Yes.
you want to expand on that?
Yeah, it makes you feel so good. Like I've noticed, I started with F4 back in October. And one of my biggest reasons that I wanted to keep doing this was because Derek actually brought had invited me to come to an event that we were doing at Safe Harbor, which is a shelter in Westchester, PA. And I got to help prepare a meal for the shelter. And it really made me want to continue doing this because you just knowing that you're helping somebody makes you feel so good. Um, and then, learning more about how many people are hungry and are experiencing food insecurity. It just makes you want to do more.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Isabella, because there was I went to a church service, and the priest was talking about one of the masses. He was saying how he was helping out at a homeless shelter, and he was saying how disgusting it was, like the dishes, specifically the dishes, and because you're piling, and I've done the dishes in the shelters for years, and I've never thought twice about it, but it is kind of disgusting. There's like food particles on all the plates, and you're cleaning it off, and but it really is like gives you like a sense of like humility. So he said at the time he was a kid, and the lady that was overseeing the shelter, I guess the nun said to him like, "Get your hands dirty," and he said it taught him. It wasn't just like washing dishes. It was the idea of like standing in solidarity with others, humbling yourself, and serving.
Mhm.
And like once you start, you can't unsee what you see. And it's like anybody could be in that position. We're one healthcare issue away, we're one job loss away, we're one mental health breakdown away. Like anybody could be in a position where they need help and support. And I mean, I don't know on your end, Amanda, but like that is kind of like my framing of how I'm approaching what we're doing.